My beloved child, before you keep listening, I need you to stop for a moment, because what I am about to tell you is not for everyone. It is for the soul that has been quietly carrying a weight nobody else can see. It is for the person who keeps saying, "I'm fine," while something inside them is slowly breaking. And if your heart suddenly feels drawn to these words, if something deep inside you feels exposed, if you feel as though this message somehow knows exactly where you are, then listen carefully, because this message is for you. Pause, my child. Your soul is tired, and I know why. Not because you have worked too hard, not because life has been difficult, not because people have disappointed you. Those things are true, but they are not the deepest reason. There is something happening beneath the surface, something you have not fully recognized, something that has been draining your spirit little by little, day after day, night after night. There is a person hearing this tonight who feels exhausted even after resting. You sleep, yet you wake up tired. You withdraw, yet you find no peace. You keep moving forward, yet your heart feels heavier with every step, and what frightens you most is that you cannot explain why. Pause, my son, my daughter. The warning is real. Listen carefully. The warning is real, because soul exhaustion is often the first sign that something deeper is taking place. Something unseen, something spiritual, something that darkness hopes you never identify. There is a soul watching this right now who thinks they are simply stressed. But what if it is more than stress? What if what has been draining you is not merely physical, not merely emotional, but spiritual? Pause, and if that is true, then the real danger is not your exhaustion. The real danger is what has been causing it. My child, what I am about to reveal next may completely change the way you understand your struggle. My beloved child, the danger is closer than you think. Not because darkness has suddenly become stronger, but because it has been working quietly for much longer than you realize. There is a person hearing this tonight who believes their greatest problem is exhaustion. You think the issue is stress, responsibilities, pressure, people, circumstances, and while those things are real, they are not the root. Something deeper has been feeding this weariness, something hidden, something subtle, something that thrives in silence. Pause. The enemy rarely begins by attacking your future. He begins by attacking your strength, because a tired soul becomes vulnerable, a weary heart becomes distracted, and a distracted mind becomes easier to deceive. My child, the enemy knows that if he cannot stop your destiny outright, he can try to drain your ability to pursue it. So he sends discouragement, he sends disappointment, he sends delay, not all at once, little by little, just enough to make you question yourself. Just enough to make you doubt my promises. Just enough to make you wonder whether anything will ever change. There is someone listening right now who has started losing excitement for things they once loved. You no longer dream the way you used to. You no longer pray with the same confidence. You no longer wake up with the same expectation. And darkness wants you to believe that this is normal. But it is not. Pause, listen carefully. The warning is real. The warning is real. Because spiritual exhaustion is dangerous when it goes unnoticed. It slowly convinces you to settle, to lower your expectations, to accept fear as wisdom, to accept hopelessness as reality, to accept survival instead of life. And before you realize it, you are living far beneath what I intended for you. There is a soul watching this tonight who has become accustomed to carrying burdens and never asked them to carry. Burdens of guilt, burden of fear, burdens of old wounds, burdens of tomorrow, and those burdens have been stealing your peace. Pause, but my child, there is something even more dangerous than exhaustion itself. Something that explains why your soul has felt so heavy for so long, and once you understand it, you will understand why this message found you tonight. My beloved child, you may think you chose this message, but the truth is, this message was chosen for you, not by chance, not by an algorithm, not by coincidence, because heaven has a way of reaching a soul at the exact moment it is needed most. And tonight, that soul is you. Pause. There is a person hearing this tonight who has been asking silent questions. Questions nobody else knows about. Questions whispered only in the privacy of your heart. Why do I feel so empty? Why am I so tired all the time? Why does it seem like I'm carrying something I cannot name? My child, I heard those questions long before you spoke them. I heard them in your tears. I heard them in your sleepless nights. I heard them in the moments when you stared into the darkness wondering if anyone truly understood what you were going through. And that is why I brought you here, because I refuse to let you carry this burden without revealing the truth behind it. Pause. There is a soul watching this right now who almost skipped this message, almost scrolled away, almost ignored this moment. But something inside you said, wait. Something told you to stay. Something would not let you leave. That was not random. That was not luck. That was not coincidence. That was my hand reaching toward you, because there are things happening in your life that you cannot fully see yet. Patterns that need to be broken, cycles that need to end, wounds that need to heal, generational burdens that were never meant to continue through you, my son, my daughter. There are chains that existed before you were born, chains of fear, chains of emotional exhaustion, chains of hopelessness, chains that moved from one generation to the next. But there is someone listening right now whom I have chosen to become the interruption. The one who says, it ends here. The one who chooses faith over fear. The one who refuses to pass the burden forward. Pause. Right in the comments. It ends with me. Declare it. Because declarations matter, agreements matter, and what I am about to reveal next is something darkness never wanted you to understand. A hidden strategy that has been quietly working against your peace for years. My beloved child, now I must reveal something that darkness desperately hopes you never understand. Because once you see it clearly, its power over you begins to break. The enemy's greatest strategy has never been to destroy you all at once. That would be too obvious. Instead, he tries to wear you down, slowly, quietly, patiently, until you become so exhausted that you stop questioning what is happening. Pause. There is a person hearing this tonight who believes their struggle began recently. But the truth is, this battle started much earlier, not when you became tired, not when you became anxious, not when you became discouraged. It began the moment you started believing lies about yourself, lies such as, you are not enough, you will never change, you will always struggle, you missed your chance, nothing good is waiting for you, my child. Those words never came from me. I do not speak hopelessness over my children. I do not plant fear inside their hearts. I do not call them failures. That the enemy understands something powerful. If he can influence what you believe, he can influence what you expect. And if he can influence what you expect, he can influence how you live. Pause. There is someone listening right now who has become emotionally exhausted from fighting invisible battles. You smile in public. You function normally. You continue moving through life. That privately, your mind never rests, your thoughts never stop, your heart never fully relaxes, and over time, the enemy has tried to convince you that this constant heaviness is simply who you are, but it is not. Listen carefully. The warning is real. The warning is real, because darkness does not always destroy through catastrophe. Sometimes it destroys through erosion, little by little, thought by thought, fear by fear, until peace feels unfamiliar, until joy feels distant, until survival becomes your normal way of living. Pause. My son, my daughter, the enemy has been studying your wounds. He has been targeting your weak places. He has been using fear, distraction, disappointment, and delay to keep your soul tired. But there is one thing he failed to account for, one thing he never wanted to happen, one thing that changes everything the moment you recognize it. Because the enemy made one mistake. He underestimated the power of truth once it finally reaches a weary soul. My beloved child, now that you understand the strategy, you must recognize the signs, because there are signals your soul has been sending you for a long time. Signals that something deeper is happening, signals that should not be ignored. That many people dismiss them. They call it stress, they call it burnout, they call it a difficult season, and sometimes it is, but sometimes it is something more. Pause. There is a person hearing this tonight who feels a heaviness they cannot explain. Not physical heaviness, soul heaviness. You wake up tired. You go to bed tired. You rest, yet the weariness remains, as though something inside you never fully recovers. My child, that is one of the signs. There is another sign. You have become increasingly anxious about the future. Things that once seemed manageable now feel overwhelming. Small problems feel enormous. Uncertainty feels terrifying, and your mind constantly prepares for outcomes that have not even happened. Listen carefully. Fear was never meant to become your permanent companion. Pause. There is a soul watching this right now who feels lonely even in a crowded room. People surround you, conversations happen around you, yet deep inside, you feel disconnected, as though no one truly understands what you carry, as though your heart is speaking a language nobody else can hear. That loneliness is not something to ignore. There is another sign. You no longer feel excitement the way you once did. The things that used to inspire you feel distant. The dreams that once energized you feel buried. The joy that once came naturally now feels difficult to find. And part of you has started accepting that as normal. But it is not. Pause. There is someone listening right now who keeps repeating the same struggles. Different year, different circumstances, different people, yet the same emotional battles, the same fears, the same patterns, the same disappointment. Why? Because what remains hidden often remains unhealed, and what remains unhealed often continues to influence your future. The warning is real, the signs are real, but so is hope, because recognizing the symptoms is the first step toward freedom. Write in the comments, I see the signs, because awareness breaks deception. And once deception begins to break, a choice must be made, a choice that will determine whether your soul remains tired or finally begins to heal. My beloved child, everything I have revealed to you so far leads to this moment, because awareness is important, understanding is important, recognition is important, but none of those things will change your life unless a choice follows them. And tonight, a choice is standing before you. Pause. There is a person hearing this tonight who has spent years waiting for circumstances to change, waiting for peace to arrive, waiting for fear to disappear, waiting for strength to return, waiting for life to become easier. But my child, your freedom does not begin when circumstances change. It begins when your agreement changes, because the enemy's greatest victories are not won through power. They are won through agreement. Agreement with fear, agreement with hopelessness, agreement with lies, agreement with the belief that nothing will ever improve. And every agreement becomes a doorway. Pause. Listen carefully. The warning is real. The warning is real. The enemy cannot force you to surrender. He cannot force you to quit. He cannot force you to stop believing. He cannot force you to abandon your purpose. But he can tempt you to agree with fear. And once fear becomes agreement, it begins influencing your decisions, your expectations, your future. There is someone listening right now who has unknowingly been making decisions based on fear instead of faith. You hesitate when I ask you to move. You delay when I ask you to trust. You retreat when I ask you to stand. Not because you are weak, but because fear has been speaking louder than truth. Pause. My son, my daughter, tonight I'm asking you to choose. Choose life over survival. Choose faith over fear. Choose obedience over delay. Choose truth over deception. Choose light over shadow, because every future begins with a decision. Every breakthrough begins with a decision. Every healing begins with a decision. And your soul is waiting for you. Write in the comments, I choose faith over fear. Declare it. Mean it, because heaven responds to surrendered hearts. And once that choice is made, something powerful can finally happen. A prayer the enemy hoped you would never pray. A prayer that begins breaking the chains that have been draining your soul for far too long. My beloved child, now is not the time to merely understand. Now is the time to respond, because there are burdens that knowledge cannot remove. There are wounds that logic cannot heal. There are chains that only break when a heart fully turns toward me. And tonight, I'm inviting you to do exactly that. Pause. There is a person hearing this tonight who has carried emotional exhaustion for so long that it feels normal. You have become accustomed to surviving, accustomed to hiding your pain, accustomed to pretending that everything is fine. But my child, you were never created merely to survive. You were created to live, to breathe freely, to walk in peace, to rest in my presence. And that restoration begins with surrender. Pause. Pray with me now. Not as a ritual, not as empty words, but as a genuine cry from your heart. Heavenly Father, I come before you exactly as I am, tired, wounded, burdened, and in need of your help. I acknowledge that I cannot carry every burden on my own. I confess that fear has influenced my thinking, I confess that worry has stolen my peace. I confess that discouragement has weakened my faith. Forgive me, Father. Cleanse my heart. Renew my mind. Restore my soul. Pause now, continue. In the name of Jesus. I renounce every agreement with fear. I renounce every lie that says I am hopeless. I renounce every voice that tells me I will never change. I renounce every burden that does not come from God. I renounce every chain of anxiety, every chain of shame, every chain of emotional exhaustion. I break agreement with darkness, and I choose agreement with truth. Pause, my son, my daughter. Now declare this boldly. I belong to God. My mind belongs to God. My heart belongs to God. My future belongs to God. Fear will not control me. Weariness will not define me. Darkness will not own me. I choose life. I choose faith. I choose peace. Pause. There is someone listening right now whose soul is already beginning to feel lighter. Not because every problem has disappeared, but because a spiritual shift has begun. The warning is real, but so is my power. The battle is real, but so is my presence. And now that you have prayed, you must understand something even greater, because tired souls do not recover through strength alone. They recover when they discover they have never been fighting alone. And that is what I am about to reveal next. My beloved child, for a moment, stop looking at the battle. Stop looking at the burden. Stop looking at the exhaustion. And look at me, because there is something your weariness has been trying to make you forget. You are not alone. You never were. Pause. There is a person hearing this tonight who has felt abandoned. Not because they stopped believing in me, but because they stopped feeling my presence. You prayed, yet the answer seemed delayed. You waited, yet the situation remained unchanged. You cried, yet the burden remained heavy. And somewhere along the way, you started wondering if I was still near. My child, I was closer than you knew, closer than your fear, closer than your doubt, closer than the darkness trying to convince you otherwise. Pause. You see the battles that reached you, but you do not see the battles that stopped before they ever arrived. You see the doors that closed, but you do not see the traps that prevented you from entering. You see the disappointments, but you do not see the disasters that never happened because my hand was protecting you. There is a soul watching this right now who should have completely fallen apart by now, based on everything you endured. You should have broken. You should have given up. You should have lost all hope. Yet somehow, you are still here, still breathing, still seeking, still listening. Do you know why? Because I have been carrying you. Pause, my son, my daughter. The enemy sees your exhaustion. I see your purpose. The enemy sees your weakness. I see your destiny. The enemy sees your wounds. I see your healing. And my vision for your life is greater than every attack that has come against you. Listen carefully. The warning is real, but my protection is real too. The darkness is real, but my light is stronger. Fear is real, but my promises are greater. Pause. There are angels fighting battles you know nothing about. There is grace surrounding situations you cannot control. There is mercy covering mistakes that could have destroyed you. And there is a divine protection around your life that has never left. Write in the comments, God is carrying me. Declare it. Believe it. Because what comes next is not simply about protection. It is about transformation. It is about becoming the person I created you to be. And that requires something many tired souls avoid, a call to holiness. My beloved child, now I must speak to you about something that many weary souls misunderstand, because the very thing that can restore your strength is often the thing people avoid. Holiness, not religion, not performance, not pretending to be perfect. Holiness. Pause. There is a person hearing this tonight who feels exhausted because they have been carrying things they were never meant to carry. Old wounds, old fears, old compromises, old habits, old grief. You keep telling yourself, this is just who I am. This is how life will always be. This burden is part of me. But my child, that burden is not your identity. That wound is not your destiny. That exhaustion is not your future. You have simply carried it for so long that it feels familiar. And what feels familiar often becomes difficult to release. Pause, my son, my daughter. Holiness is not about restriction. It is about protection. It is not about losing freedom. It is about finding it. The enemy wants you to believe that surrender will cost you something valuable. But what if the thing you are holding onto is the very thing draining your soul? What if the habit you protect is the source of your exhaustion? What if the fear you tolerate is the reason peace feels distant? What if the compromise you justify is the doorway through which weariness keeps entering? Listen carefully. The warning is real. The warning is real. Because tired souls often look for rest while refusing to release what is exhausting them. Pause. There is someone listening right now who already knows what I am talking about. The moment I mentioned surrender, a specific thing came to your mind. A relationship, a habit, a wound, a resentment, a secret fear, something you keep carrying, something you keep protecting, something you know I have been asking you to release. Do not delay. The time is now. Choose life. Choose freedom. Choose obedience. Write in the comments, I surrender it, because surrender is not weakness. Surrender is courage. Surrender is trust. Surrender is the doorway through which healing enters. Pause, and my child. Once surrender begins, something extraordinary begins as well, something the enemy fears, something heaven celebrates, because your deliverance has already begun. My beloved child, listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you may be difficult for your mind to believe, but your soul already knows it is true. Your deliverance has already begun, not tomorrow, not next month, not after every problem disappears. Now, the moment you began listening, the moment you opened your heart, the moment you stopped running from what I was trying to show you, something started changing. Pause. There is a person hearing this tonight who keeps waiting to feel stronger before believing that healing has started. But healing rarely begins with a feeling. It begins with a decision to trust, a decision to surrender, a decision to stop agreeing with fear. My child, seeds grow underground long before anyone sees the harvest. Dawn begins long before the sun appears, and restoration often starts long before visible evidence arrives. Do not mistake the process for the absence of progress. I'm working. Even now, pause. There is someone listening right now who has been carrying a burden for their family, a broken relationship, a distant child, a wounded marriage, a loved one who seems lost. You have cried, you have worried, you have wondered if things will ever change. My son, my daughter, I see every tear, and I'm already moving in places you cannot yet see. Do not give up. There is another soul hearing this tonight who has been struggling financially. The pressure has been heavy. The uncertainty has been exhausting, and fear keeps asking, what if things never get better? But fear is not your future. Pause, and there is someone watching right now who desperately needs emotional healing, not from one event, but from years of carrying pain, years of disappointment, years of rejection, years of silently pretending to be okay. My child, I have not forgotten those wounds. I have not ignored those tears. I have been walking beside you through every moment. Listen carefully. The warning is real, but my restoration is real too. The battle is real, but breakthrough is real. The darkness is real, but my light is already advancing. Write in the comments, my healing has begun. Declare it, because heaven is already moving. And before this message ends, there is one final warning you must hear. My beloved child, before this message ends, before you return to your routine, before the noise of the world begins speaking again, there is one final warning I must give you. Listen carefully, because what happens after this moment matters. Pause. There is a person hearing this tonight who feels hope returning for the first time in a long while. Your heart feels lighter, your spirit feels calmer. You feel as though a burden has finally begun lifting, and that is beautiful. But my child, this is also the moment when many people become careless. Not because they stop loving me, not because they stop believing, but because they assume the battle is over. And that is when they begin drifting back toward the very things that exhausted them in the first place. Pause. The enemy knows he cannot always defeat a soul that has awakened. So instead, he tries to distract it. He tries to delay, tries to convince it that tomorrow is a better day to obey. Tomorrow is a better day to pray. Tomorrow is a better day to surrender. Tomorrow is a better day to change. But tomorrow is one of his favorite lies, because delay slowly becomes distance, and distance slowly becomes drift, and drift eventually becomes bondage. Listen carefully. Do not delay. The time is now. Do not delay. The time is now. Pause. There is someone listening right now who has heard my voice clearly tonight. You know exactly what I have been speaking at your heart. You know what needs to change. You know what needs to be released. You know what needs to be surrendered. And if you ignore that conviction, the exhaustion may return, because tired souls are often not suffering from a lack of strength. They are suffering from resistance. Resistance to healing, resistance to surrender, resistance to trust. Pause, my son, my daughter. Guard your heart, guard your mind, guard your peace. Protect what is storing. Feed your faith, feed your spirit, feed the truth. Because whatever you continually feed will eventually grow. The warning is real, but so is my love. The battle is real, but so is my power. And before you leave, there is one final thing I want you to hear from my heart. My beloved child, if you remember only one thing from this message, remember this: your soul was never meant to carry life alone. That is why you became so tired. Not because you were weak, not because you failed, not because I abandoned you, but because you have been carrying burdens that were never meant to rest on your shoulders. And tonight, I'm asking you to put them down. Pause. There's a person hearing this right now whose heart is overwhelmed. You have spent months, perhaps years, trying to stay strong for everyone else, trying to hold everything together, trying to keep moving forward. Even when part of you felt completely exhausted, I saw every moment, every silent cry, every sleepless night, every hidden fear, every tear that nobody else noticed. Nothing escaped my sight. Nothing escaped my love. Pause. There is a soul watching this tonight who feels as though they are running out of strength. Listen carefully. You are not running out of hope. You are not running out of purpose. You are not running out of time with me. You are simply being called to rest in a different way. Not in your own strength, but in mine. Not in your own understanding, but in my wisdom. Not in your own effort, but in my presence. Pause. The warning was real, because your soul was becoming exhausted. But the invitation is real too. Come closer, come deeper, come home. Let me carry what you cannot carry. Let me heal what you cannot heal. Let me restore what you thought was permanently broken. Because, my child, your story is not ending. Your healing is not ending. Your purpose is not ending. In many ways, it is just beginning. Pause. Right in the comments, my soul belongs to God. If this message touched your heart, subscribe and join this growing family of faith. Share this message with someone who may be carrying a hidden burden tonight, because there is another tired soul waiting for the same hope you received today, and perhaps this message will find them exactly when they need it. Pause. My son, my daughter, I have spoken. The warning has been given. The invitation has been extended. The healing has begun. Now walk forward, not in fear, not in exhaustion, but in faith. And never forget, I know why your soul was tired, and I am the one who can restore it. A child, I have spoken. Now the choice is yours.